Welcome to the Bloody Aussie Battler podcast with your host, Mike Holt. This is a message to Barry McInerney and John Smith of the United Kingdom and International so-called Common Law Court website. How dare you attack me for carrying out common law? These people's assemblies are exactly what common law is all about. And if you knew anything about it, you'd keep your mouth shut and get off your fat asses and do something. So, who's making money out of common law? John Smith. You have taken money under false pretenses. That is fraud. I've got hundreds of people contacting me asking where their birth certificates and their IDs, cards and everything else that they've ordered from you, where are they? You haven't delivered. That is fraud, you thief. As for Barry McInerney, put your bloody toupee on straight and get your head on straight, because right now you're just making an idiot of yourself. Stop bloody criticising people and carrying on with that stupid looking smirk on your face. Get stuffed. G'day, Kevin. It's nice to have you back again.
Good to be with you, Mike, always.
Yes. How's things going in Canada, or Canada, I should say?
There's a good forward movement. I mean, there's the usual kind of attacks and disruptions you've got to expect, right? But especially on the West Coast, and that's very much related to the Chinese presence.
Yeah.
But elsewhere in Canada, I mean, on the East Coast in the Atlantic provinces, the assembly there has gone from 10 people to over 200 now.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're reaching out all over the Eastern Canada. So it's really, really increasing. You find that people stepping forward now are a lot more professional. They're more committed,
Yeah.
and they don't kind of come and go like the early recruits did. So, I mean, I think it's maturing, and I think we're definitely having an impact, right?
Yeah, as you know, we're just getting started here, and I'm suffering a multitude of attacks. I even got attacked by one bloke, John Smith from the UK and International Common Law. You'd think he'd have more sense, but I don't know. You know, there's a few other people attacking me, but it's water off a duck's back, because we're out there doing what needs to be done to promote common law. And I know you've suffered a lot of attacks too, haven't you, over the years?
Too many to mention, really. But
That's
I knew a guy, when I was really young, I met a longshoreman and on the West Coast, Joe Hensby, and he had been blacklisted, been beaten up, jailed, and many times as you can think of. But, you know, he was almost 70. He said, it just proves that I never sold out to the bastards. It's proof I'm still on the right course when I get attacked all the time, right? So it helps us to know that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, if we weren't doing something, then we wouldn't be coming under attack. And if we weren't doing it, again. But, you know, who cares? Let them attack instead of getting out there. Now, there's a lot of questions from people here in Australia about the meaning of assemblies and why we're doing this. Perhaps you could tell us why you're doing it in Canada and what you've achieved so far.
You mean the idea of the assembly itself?
The idea of assembly, yeah.
Well, for many years, like a lot of people, I was, you know, kind of battling the system and trying to get it to do justice or to waken up to its own crimes. And, you know, we realized that as things get worse, the system tightens up and there's less flexibility, there's less accountability at any level. And it was really a practical realization that, you know, we have to do it ourselves. First at the level of court and legal action, but then more broadly, if we're going to survive this madness that's descending, we have to know that we can govern ourselves, we can protect ourselves in our own community. It rises out of the practical need that more and more people are realizing, right? But then it gets down to the nuts and bolts of how you get people to work together. And that's difficult because there's a lot of fear and ego. And, you know, everyone's got their little piece of the analysis, the piece of the understanding of what the problem is, and they think that's the only piece, rather than learning to put it all together into a big picture. And that takes a certain amount of humility. And I love that line in Sun Tzu in The Art of War. He said, the commander has to be not only vigilant and clear, but also very humble, because it's only through your humility that you can have a realistic sense of who we are and what we're up against. If you're bloated with your own ego, you're blind to what's going on around you quite often, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's just common sense.
Well, you've got to concentrate on the why you're doing things rather than, you know, I'm doing it for my own aggrandizement. You know, it's just not
Right.
cares. I'm not here to do that. As I keep explaining to people, in 1965, when I joined the Air Force, I took an oath to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II when I joined the Air Force. And that oath included protecting my country and protecting the law. And, you know, I've seen the law and my country destroyed in front of my eyes over the years. And so now I have to fight back. I can't just let these things go. And, you know, and the only way we can do that is to empower people. And that's what these assemblies are doing. You're right, too, though. Not many people get the overall purpose of what we're trying to achieve here. Some people who get it straight away, they say, oh, well, the assemblies are like a local government. And then how do we spread that across the country? Well, we form assembly congresses. So it's really another new form of government. It
is. And it's about, you know, there's two kinds of governance in the world. Either somebody is standing over you or you're standing over yourself. And, you know, that it's a new idea for a lot of people because we're just trained automatically to defer all the time to somebody else. But, you know, I love that quote. I forget who said it in history. But revolutions aren't made by people. People are made by revolutions. So it's like when you enter into a fight with the system and realize we're up against it, our country's been stolen, we have to reclaim it back. You're changed in the process of struggling, of having to fight every day. We become better, we become stronger and clearer. And we're changed in that process. And so the important thing I often say to people is start something, doesn't matter what it is, just get in there and start mixing it up, learn, and you become a veteran, you know, and instead of, you can sit in a room and talk and come up with all sorts of ideas and reasons why you shouldn't do anything, right? That's easy. But you learn the best education is a black eye, really. And, you know, we have to be able to be in a group where we can look at our lessons and you know, the wisdom in a group is much greater than just in our own head. We got to put it all in the pot and, you know, figure out what to do next. That's the beauty of an assembly, because I remember my last show, I interviewed two of the organizers on the East Coast. One of them is the common law sheriff for the Atlantic Assembly, and his children had just been targeted. The Children's Aid Society came over and were going to try to grab his children. And he not only stood them down, he got the police on his side by being firm. And he said if it wasn't for people in the assembly who were there within 10 minutes to back us up, it would have been a lot harder. They put out a call, there were assembly members there, and strength in numbers. They backed down, and we even had the police agreeing with them by the end of the confrontation. And they haven't been seen, those children aid bandits haven't been seen since. So the power in numbers and knowing, the power of knowledge and standing together as a group, right? Exactly. United, we have a lot of strength. And we have we have the power of right on our side. And you're right, a lot of the police out there, I don't talk to many police because, you know, I don't know who to trust. But the ones that I have spoken to in the past, you know, they can't say anything when they're in uniform. But you get them out of uniform, they agree. Right. You know, they don't like what's going on any more than we do. But they've got a job and a family to protect. So it's our job not only to form these assemblies, but to get out there and talk to people, not just police, but everybody. And no matter where I go, I'm always talking to people. I'm handing out common law cards. I'm explaining what common law is. And yeah, you know, I mean, you've got assemblies up to 200 people. We've had one assembly of nearly 200 people so far, but most of our assemblies are 60 or 70 people. Yeah. And I don't know if you've been keeping up with what we've been doing, but last weekend, good. Excellent. Last weekend, our assembly passed a few motions. One was to ban COVID regulations on the Sunshine Coast. Now, last night we had a Zoom meeting with a few of the sheriffs. We're getting organised. We also had a meeting with the people who were elected to form a court, and they're getting organised. I'll be emailing them today with more details. We also passed a motion to stop voting. In fact, we've got an election coming up next weekend. Good. The whole assembly is not going to vote. good.
You know, I put it to the vote, and the whole room put their hands up. It was fantastic. Now,
that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I explained that if we don't vote, what happens then is the first person who gets a fine, we get that person to write back and say, no, I'm not paying the fine. Summons me to court. And of course, They don't want to go to court for these things. But if we can get them into court, then the whole assembly will turn up in court. And then we'll challenge the court and the magistrate. And we'll deputise the police.
Exactly, that's what you need to do. We've had the same thing. Next weekend there's a provincial election on British Columbia, on Canada's west coast, and we've put out this thing. We're going to all the polling stations saying don't vote, because they've just brought in a law putting all power in the hands of the lieutenant governor, who has indefinite power. He's not accountable. He can't be sued in a court of law. Why ratify your slavery? Vote instead for the Republic and the local assembly. And we also went to the police, and now on 2 occasions, we've handed our law from September 8th that banned all COVID measures and made them illegal. We handed them to police in Victoria and Vancouver, and on both occasions, the people who did that were told by the police, yeah, this is lawful. Show this to people who are trying to make you mask.
Exactly.
They said it's lawful. The police understand it's lawful, but they can't come out and say that because, they get in trouble with their bosses, right?
Are you interested in podcasts that uncover the truth? Tune into Widdershins podcast. Straight from science fiction, we uncover the technologies being developed right under our noses. We bring to you the world's leading scientists, engineers, and experts to discover just how far away these things really are from becoming our reality. www.widdershinspodcast.com.
Well, this is it. When you form a common law assembly, we're in a slightly different position here, because people ask, well, what is common law? It's actually our Commonwealth of Australia Constitution, Act 1901. That is the common law of Australia. It's the highest law of the land. So when we form an assembly under that, we are the ultimate authority. We're forming all these common law assemblies under the authority of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act. So we outrank the police, we outrank the politicians. And so when we've already passed that bylaw, and we've got a copy of it now on the website that people can download, they can take it around to the shop owners and business owners and hand it to them and say, you can take down all this COVID rubbish and put this on the front door. But then so far we've elected about 10 sheriffs. The number fluctuates a little bit. We've had a couple drop off, but we're going to start electing more. And what we're going to do is exactly what you mentioned before, flying squads of support. So if a shop owner comes under attack by the police, then we just send around our sheriffs, a squad of sheriffs, and we'll back them up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way to make common law work.
And when you show that you're willing to back it up with force, and then they know you're not kidding around, you're being very professional. And I find that the cops I know, they always look for community support, for policing, for peacekeeping. They welcome this kind of stuff. They just don't know in their chain of command where it fits in. And when we say, look, at the very top, we've told your bosses that the oath of allegiance to the crown is nullified. It's, Elizabeth Windsor is a convicted felon, that it's null and void, boys. You have to take a new pledge of allegiance now to the people through a constitutional assembly, right? And this is the whole point, right?
That's a good point, actually, because as I mentioned before, I did swear an oath of allegiance to her. But, really, in reality, I was swearing an oath of allegiance to my country, to defend my country and the laws. And that's what I'm standing by. Yeah, I agree. The Queen can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. But the fact is, I took an oath to protect this country, and that's damn well what I'm going to do. Right. Now, you mentioned also there where we've got these people sitting on Zoom calls and, sniping at us and everything. Well, these people can sit on a Zoom call and yak all they like, but they're not doing anything. And I'm trying to encourage these people, get off your backside and get out there in the community. And the worst offenders are in Victoria, I'm afraid, because that's the state where the, Chairman Dan, the commie, has imposed such draconian strictures that people are not even allowed out of their houses for most of the
Right.
or
Well,
travel.
that's a good point, Mike, because I find there's a direct connection between the amount of repression and how helpless people feel and the amount they talk. You know, because talk is a substitute for action. It's what you do. And infighting and name calling with each other, it's directly related to how afraid people are. That and the only way around that is to get them active and to show in practice the system has a lot less power than we think.
Right.
We just it's like our compliance is what makes their law real. If we don't comply, what they do has no power.
That's right.
It's all about our compliance. Nothing is ever done to us. It's done with us, with our compliance, right?
The hippies had a saying, what if they gave a war and nobody came?
Exactly.
Yeah. What if
It's a
they gave
war,
an
right?
election and nobody came?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
They can't be in power if we don't empower them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been talking to quite a few Victorians. They've been calling me up and saying, well, you know, how do we get an assembly going? It's very simple. You just talk to a few of your neighbours and friends and invite them around to your kitchen table. That's an assembly. You start talking about common law, what it is, why you want it. And then the next thing you know, you've got more people want to join in and you get a hall and you start inviting people along and the whole thing grows. And
learn by experience.
Yes.
Learn by your own experience. Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been very busy. And when we started up the common law here, we had 3 blokes steal the first website and all the membership list. So, you know, I waited around and then I thought, well, nobody else is going to do anything about this. So I set up a website. Then I realized that we needed to automate the live birth registration or whatever you want to call it. And so I got in touch with a chap and we worked together. We've done that. And we're starting to develop the website so it becomes an international platform. And, you know, I mentioned to you before, I hope you're going to take us up on that offer, but we're still very busy trying to develop this. You know, and the critics are saying, oh, Mike Holt's hijacked the website. I haven't hijacked anything. I've made the website available for everybody. And so when people come to me now and they say, oh, I want to set up an assembly, I not only set up the registration form so that people can register online and get the details, but I'm helping the people who come to me and say, well, how do I run an assembly? How do I get one started? And that's what my job now is, to help people, empower people so that they can start assemblies. And, you know, I would say to Australia, there's nothing to be afraid about starting an assembly. It's very simple. Just get some people together. That's an assembly.
Right. Well, it's important. People go to our site, republicofcanada.ca. You'll see in the banner, one of the titles is, How Does the Republic Work? And in there's an outline of, it's called Positions and Responsibilities in a Common Law Assembly.
Oh.
And it kind of lays out 6 positions, just the way to initially structure it so these basic jobs are being done, right? So that's a good thing to share people. I know you probably have something very similar. I've seen it, so.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday I ordered a dozen copies of your sheriff's manual too. So we'll have that available for our sheriffs. And, you know, we're just trying to do everything we can to get these assemblies off the ground, because once people start coming to them, they see how powerful it can be and how it unites them. And that's what we want. You know, you can't do it on a Zoom call. You have
and feel free to modify that. Like, we want to learn from each of our own experiences. So if there's something that works better from the sheriff's own experience, change the manual and send it to us. It's a work in progress, right? Like everything we do.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the website. Every day I get on and somebody's got an idea. Today I put up a couple of sheriff uniform suggestions so that people can vote on them. So that's under the website there. And I'll be putting out a little bit of a release on Facebook and stuff. But, you know, it's a work in progress and we're learning as we go. And, but, you know, the results so far have been phenomenal. Now, I did helped a chap organise an assembly up at Noosa Head, which is about an hour north of where I live. I think a total of 5 people turned up. We were prepared for 26 people, or 25 people had registered. Of those, only 5 arrived. Now, I know what the problem was now, because I've discussed it with some of my other friends here. And basically, it was on a Tuesday. 11 in the morning. Nobody wants to go to an assembly at that time. It's better to have it on a weekend, on a Sunday afternoon. So I'll be working with that chap and we'll get that talk organised, you know, and he's not discouraged. I mean, the fact that 5 people turned up was a good start.
If you have chosen the Red Pill, then there is only one place to host your website. Enlightened hosting, no censorship, domains, hosting, secure. Build your website and get online fast. www.redpillhosting.com.
Now, the other thing too that I'm doing, because we get a lot of donations through the websites, through my website and also through the Common Law website. And what I'm doing now is that chap laid out about $250 to organise that assembly. Well, obviously with 5 people, the donations was about $2. You know, it wasn't worth worrying about. So I'm helping him now by supplementing that payment from the donations that are coming in. So all this money that's coming in, not that there's a great deal yet, but it will grow. And as it grows, we can help other assemblies get started. Now, once they get started, I'm showing them a business model that they can follow. When people come to the door, they're asked to donate. Those donations go towards booking the hall and doing all the administration work, etc. It costs money to do this sort of stuff. So, you know, it's a self-replicating and self-sustaining model. And that's all you have to do. It's not hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just go back into history a little bit. When you got started, what was your first aim?
In this immediate thing, well, you see, it float, as folks probably know, it came out of a very long campaign that's gone on for decades in Canada about crimes against humanity, past and present. And you know, we none of the stuff happening right now is personally surprising because I've been fighting it for many years.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about mandatory vaccinations, that's the law in Canada for Indians. You can't refuse shots or medical treatment, or you go to jail if you're living on reservation. I'm sure there's similar laws in Australia about the Aborigines. And so we confronted this genocidal state for many years. And, you know, originally it started for me in a very human way as a pastor, working with the people in my congregation, seeing the results of these crimes, realizing the system was lined up. If you even start talking about these crimes, you're instantly targeted. So, I mean, over the years, one thing led to another. It's, for me, escalated and grown like a big balloon, you know, based on all of that. Yeah. Or whatever you want to call it, right? So for me, yeah, it's the next step in something. And, you know, when the Crown and these churches that are found guilty in our international common law court of these crimes, you can't cooperate with that anymore. You can't pretend that these regimes are legitimate and nice and democratic. I mean, you're obligated under law to not go along with it. So then you've got to think of what are you going to have in this place. And for me, over the years, it kind of led naturally to this work, right?
Obligated under the law, but also morally. I mean, I can't live there.
Totally.
I can't live in a world where I can see these people kidnapping children and mutilating them and carrying on killing them. And it's just disgusting. I've got 2 daughters, and if that happened to me, I tell you what, I'd probably go on a rampage against the people who did it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to stand for that.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a moral question. It's a deeply moral question, right? And that's why you just can't cooperate anymore.
Yeah. And that's why I was surprised that John Smith from the UK attacked me like he did, because he is a man who is supposed to know what common law is. And he's going on about me setting up assemblies. Well, it's not just me. It's a lot of people around Australia. You know, we've got assemblies in Perth, in Adelaide, on the Sunshine Coast, in Gympie. We've got more being formed in New South Wales, in up north, Townsville, Cairns. It's spreading, and it's only just started here in Australia over the last couple of months. So,
well, there's a thing called controlled opposition or controlled dissent. And frankly, we learned this working with survivors of church crimes, of child torture and trafficking. The first thing the government does is they go to a group that seems to be fairly moderate and say, look, we're going to fund you, but just don't have anything to do with these people who are talking about the assembly or talking about court cases and putting the crown on trial for genocide. And there's control groups and then the uncontrolled groups. And frankly, we know the same thing happens in the common law assembly and the Republic movement in Canada, that a lot of the quote common law experts have been told, you'll get money and support and we'll back off of you if you help us take down this, you know, Kevin Annett and the Republic, and the whole idea of people taking back power. Because, you know, they're told by the government, you can protest, you can hand out leaflets, you can have workshops on common law, you can do all that in your little sandbox, as long as you don't take back power. And so definitely this isn't just random attacks because they don't like you. It's backed by the state. These are black operations to attack the people who are really a threat, right?
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the things that struck me when John Smith was attacking me. He said, oh, we've got the approval of the Australian government. Bazinga. There you go.
A pretty blatant admission. Right?
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe it. We don't take any money from anybody except the people who donate money. And we do, of course, sell things as well, but merchandise to help raise funds. But all that money is ploughed back in to the work that we're doing. I don't make any profit out of this, and I'm not here to. I'm on a good pension and I don't need money.
Well, then they know you can't be bought, Mike, just like me. And so you're the biggest threat. Yeah. So naturally you're going to face a lot of shit, right?
I'm already facing it and I really don't care.
Yeah, I know.
When the cops come to my door, I just tell them bugger off.
Hand them a flyer.
Yeah. Actually, it was quite funny. I've told this story before, but when the 8 cops came earlier this year to seize my computers and everything, I handed one of them the Dick Yardley book, which explains all the laws that have been broken, the political party crimes and treason. Yeah. And the head cop was a federal policeman, and they asked him, "Oh, do you want to put that book in the evidence bag?" And he said, "No, I'm taking this to read on the plane." So I got him. I don't know what happened after that, but I bet you he's thinking hard.
Yeah, you never know. The seeds you plant, they can sprout up years later. I've encountered that all the time.
Have you got a copy of Dick's book?
No.
I should send you a copy. It's really good.
Okay, please. Can you do it online? Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll send you a PDF version.
That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, mate, you'll read that. Your jaw will drop. I tell you, I'm doing an audio book at the moment. So I've read about 200 pages of it so far. And the lady that I'm doing with, Amy Rose, every now and again we stop and just look at each other and we just go, my God, they did that? They did that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when people read my Murder by Decree book, they go, you know, they did this, little children. Yeah. Forget it, right?
Yeah.
Never paying taxes again in my life.
No, why should we support a criminal enterprise?
No.
All right, Kevin, it's been a real pleasure. And as always, I learn a lot from you. And
likewise.
Thank you very much.
Okay, brother. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. Yeah. Bye now. If you're enjoying these podcasts on the bloodyausiebattler.com, why not become a member to support my work? It's easy. Just click on Join Us and choose the membership level that suits your pocket.